everyone and welcome to this video. Today I'm going to be talking you through the pros and cons of living in Sweden. I live in Stockholm, Sweden, and yeah, I thought this would be a really fun video to share with you about what's good about living here and what is not so good. So let's just get straight into it. Okay, so how I'm going to structure this video is I'm going to go through the pros of living in Sweden first, and then I'm going to go through the cons. Yeah, as I mentioned, I live in Stockholm, Sweden, and I have lived here for 6 months now. So I feel like I have a pretty good review of what it's like to live here. I've been out a lot, I've been exploring, and I've been into the culture, and I've also been working here, and I've also been running my own business here. So yeah. Let's go. So let's go through the pros. First pro is that it's a great way of life. You have probably heard this about Scandinavian countries, but the life here is actually really good. You get paid a good wage and you really get taken care of. Which leads me to another pro, which is the healthcare. The healthcare is quite good here. I think it's pretty easy to book appointments, things like that. And when I gave it a Google, it actually said that we have free healthcare, which I didn't actually know. I thought we had to pay for healthcare, but I did Google it and we get free healthcare here in Sweden. So I think that's always a pro. Number 2, a really good pro about living in Sweden is there is great public transport and the pricing is not too bad. Especially if you are a student living in Sweden, then you also get a student discount on public transport. But if not, the public transport is actually so good. It's easy, and the buses and the trains and the tubes and even the boats, they run really often. So it's super easy to travel around the city. And coming from a small town in the UK, for me, this was really nice, and yeah, just a huge thing for me. So the public transport is great. Number 3 is that jobs pay pretty well here. As I said, you get a great way of life here, and also jobs pay pretty well if you are working and living in Sweden. Number 4, the water is super fresh, and I just wanted to mention this because the tap water here is actually like the freshest and cleanest tap water you can have. So yeah, that's really good, because I know that in some countries you can't drink the tap water, but the tap water in Sweden is just really good. Number 5, gender equality is quite good here. People are very much feminists around here. A lot of the people I have met anyway, especially like a lot of the men as well, they are quite feminist. So gender equality is definitely, I mean, there's still a long way to go, of course, but Sweden is definitely one of those forward thinking countries when it comes to gender equality. Number 6 now, education is almost free. And yeah, and the reason why I say almost is because it depends on what form of education you take, of course, but university here is free in Sweden, which I think is so good. That's why I think that's why a lot of people study here in Sweden. But university is free and school is free, high school, college, gymnasium it's called here. That is all free, and also I know that when you do study, you actually do get paid to study, and I think you also get paid when you are in high school. Also, you get a certain allowance each month. So education is pretty much free here in Sweden, and I think that is just something which is great, and I think the UK need to really improve on that, because usually university can be a huge expense. Number 7 is the archipelago. You can travel around Sweden and feel like you are on holiday. Stockholm is made of around 14 islands, I think, and that's just Stockholm. And then if you go to the archipelago, it's actually beautiful. And I think it's just so nice to live in a country where you can go and explore more of the country and feel like you are abroad. Especially in the summer, and even in the winter. If you go really further up north, then you can ski, and you can ski in Sweden, and you can also go on a beach and go swimming. So I like the fact that you can be in one country and feel like you are on holiday. And number 8 is that we have gorgeous summers here in Sweden. Usually we do anyway, and I just think this is a really big pro, especially if you are from somewhere like the UK or just a colder country, is that Sweden actually have really gorgeous summers, and they have a lot of traditions on in the summer, and there's always things to do here when it is the summertime. So a lot of people do actually leave Sweden when it comes to summer, but there's always so many activities to do in the summer, especially swimming in the city, things like that. So I think that is just a really good pro of living here. So those are the pros of living in Sweden. I'm going to put them here so that you can see them all together. And yeah, overall I do think Sweden is a great place to live and I'm really thoroughly enjoying it. But I am going to go through the cons of living in Sweden now also. Before I go into the cons, I just want to say thank you so much for watching, and if you have any recommendations on videos you want to see about Sweden or not about Sweden, then do let me know in the comments below. I really appreciate any feedback. But yes, let's head into the cons of living in Sweden. Because sadly, wherever you live, there are going to be pros and cons. So to be honest, as I said, I think Sweden is a great place to live, but there's always going to be a downside to living wherever you choose to live. Okay, so my number one con is that there is a housing shortage, so it's actually very hard to find places to live. There are lists you can go on, but you can be on these lists for about 20 years if you are looking to buy a place to live. I'm not too sure on the details, but there is research you can do about this, and I will try and leave any links below also. But yes, there is a housing shortage in Sweden, so finding a place to live is always a struggle. And I know this from me moving here. Luckily I got to live with a family friend, but a lot of friends who have moved here, it has been a struggle. But one thing that I do think is quite good if you are thinking about moving here on your own, if you are an expat, then there is always rooms you can rent out. You just have to be really lucky with what you find. But if you have a look on Blocket, I think that is the best place to find rooms with people who are obviously nice people, because that's really important. Con number 2 is that the taxes are super high. If you know anything about Sweden, you probably know this, but the taxes are quite high. You get taxed around 30 to 40%. Obviously it varies on what wage you are getting, and you get taxed from day one, like from whatever wage you are getting. Whereas in the UK you have to make around 11 grand to actually get taxed. You don't get taxed before that, but Sweden you get taxed on everything. And of course, if you run your own business, I run my own business here in Sweden, you also get taxed, and it is quite high, I'm not going to lie. But I don't really like complaining about tax because I understand why we pay tax, and the life here is really good. It just means that you have to be strategic with your money and remember how much you are getting taxed, especially if you run a business, of course, because you actually take that away yourself. So just knowing that and being aware of it, that is really important. My con number 3, which is actually very frustrating. If you are not a citizen or like a resident of Sweden and you don't have a personal number, they call it personnummer in Swedish, but a personal number. If you don't have a personal number, then you basically can't do anything. You can't apply for jobs, you can't open a Swedish bank account, and yeah, it's a real pain to get that personal number as well. It's a real pain to get it. It's quite a lot of hassle, but once you have it, then you can actually open a bank account here, you can actually get a place to live, you can actually get a job and actually start building your life. But first of all, you need to get this personal number, and that is just a whole process in itself. So that is a con about living in Sweden. Once you have it, it's great, but it's like everyone has a number here, which is pretty crazy actually. We all have an individual number, but yeah, once you have that, life is much easier. Con number 4, which you have probably heard of as well, is the winters are long and dark. The winters are so long. I moved here in January and it was still winter until around April. It felt like winter until around April, and then May was still not that springy. So winter actually lasted a long time because it starts in like October, and it's a good 6 months, of winter, and Sweden gets super dark, especially in November, December and January. And even February, it's really dark months. So if you like the winter, if you don't mind the darkness, then this won't affect you at all. But if you do get affected by the darkness, then you might not like the winter months here. But to be honest, I think it's really important that you are supplementing your vitamin D, of course, and you are also really taking care of yourself in the winter and still trying to go out and still trying to see friends, and yeah, just really trying not to hibernate in the winter, because that is what Swedish people tend to do. They tend to literally disappear in the winter. You will, if you live here, you will see how dead Stockholm is during the winter time, because everyone just hibernate. So don't be that person. I'm not going to be that person. I'm going to be out in the winter and I'm going to be trying to make the most of it, even though it will be long and dark. And my fifth and final con, I only have 5 cons of living in Sweden, you see guys, because it is a great place to live. But my fifth and final con to living in Sweden is that it can be difficult to integrate into Swedish society, and everybody says this, and I do think that it is true. It can be really difficult to make friends with Swedes and really get to know them and really get into friendship groups, but to be honest, I wouldn't let it hold you back from moving here at all. I think it's just something that, you know, you can really push yourself and try to do. And I also have a video on how to make friends and good friends as well. And considering I have made a really incredible group of friends in Sweden, it is definitely possible, because I didn't think I was going to be able to do that, I'm not going to lie, but I did. So it's definitely possible, so don't let it hold you back, but it can be tough, and I just want to pre-warn you to not take it personally if you are finding it hard to make friends here in Sweden. Okay, so that is the end of my pros and cons, and now I just want to give you a few suggestions on if you are thinking of moving here or if you are thinking of moving abroad. Because as I mentioned, I moved away 6 months ago. It was the best decision I ever made, but there has been challenges along the way, as there always will be, and these are 2 things which really helped me when moving away from home. The first thing was to join Facebook groups. Facebook groups are so wonderful when you are moving away from home, because you will be surprised how many Facebook groups there are on absolutely everything, and you can meet a lot of expats as well moving to Stockholm, Sweden. And if you want links to these Facebook groups, if you do want to know what these Facebook groups are, then you can just comment below or send me a message on my social media, which is, the links are all in the description, and I will send them over to you and I will help you, because Facebook groups are honestly magical, and that is how I have made my friends here in Sweden, and I am so grateful for that. And another one of my tips, if you are moving to Sweden, is to not take it personally if you do find it hard to make friends, especially with Swedish people initially in the beginning. This can be really tough, but it's really important not to take it personally and understand that making friends, especially when moving abroad, does take time. So give yourself that time and don't be too hard on yourself, and definitely don't take it personally when people disappear in the winter, because that just happens, and that's just something that happens here. But hopefully you can find friends who don't disappear in the winter, that you can actually have fun in the winter with too. But yes, that takes me to the end of this video. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed it. Do let me know in the comments below.